Grady.
Mrs. McGill, for once in your errorless life, you're wrong. Will you kindly go look at your calendar? It's only the 22nd. My rent is not due.
I know that. It's not due till a week from Friday.
Thank you.
At which time I'd admire having it all, if you please, and not half of it and half an excuse. What I wanted to tell you is, your nephew is here.
Thank you very much. What's that? My who is where?
I said your nephew is here.
It may interest you to know that I have no nephew, Mrs. McGill.
He said he was your nephew, and I have every reason for believing him. He acted very peculiar.
Oh, such as trying on my suits, going through my dresser drawer? And you didn't happen to show him where I hide my piggy bank, did you? It's always nice to be helpful, you know.
He said he was your nephew.
So you said. Well, we'll soon find out. Naughty, naughty. Now, see here, you faker. Dear Uncle Joseph, sorry I can't wait. Power running low. Must refill stellium cartridge. What? Will return later. Affectionately, your nephew Norville. Norville Grady Carson. Now who the... What? Still looking for my non-existent nephew? I'm in no mood for jokes. There's nobody in here. You can look for yourself.
He must be here. I saw him go in.
You perhaps didn't see him go out carrying a large bundle.
Positive. I've been here all afternoon. I can guarantee he did not leave this house.
Not by the rear door?
He did not leave by the rear door, nor by the front door, nor by any cold chute or any window. Look here, Mr. Grady, I don't want any funny business around here. I operate a respectable rooming house for genteel people.
Yeah, okay, he's here. He's sleeping in my shoe bag.
In your shoe bag?
Yeah, but I haven't got time to explain it. I have an engagement. I gotta tidy up. Brother. Winnie, it's just like I've always said. Working for a big company, well, there's no future in it. Sit down. Now, if I could go out on my own and have a little workshop.
Oh, Joe, don't talk nonsense. What on earth could you possibly do that can't be done 1,000 times better by a company like General Engineers?
Well, I don't know exactly. I've got a couple of half-baked ideas. Nothing I can put my finger on, of course. Oh, well, I'm just daydreaming, honey. It's nothing that I intend to do today or next week. It's something I'd like to do in the future.
I see. It's just like Mama told me. She warned me about you. She said you were reckless and undependable.
Winnie, I'm not reckless. I just want to go out on my own so I can get you all the wonderful things you deserve.
By giving up a steady job with a good salary to start some fly-by-night? Oh, no, Joe, it's no use. We'd better break off our engagement before it's too late.
Oh, Winnie, please don't take it off.
Well, why not? You think more of your own selfish plans than you do of me.
Oh, honey, I was just kidding. I didn't mean a word I said. Honestly, I wouldn't do anything to upset you.
Well, then you promise you won't talk any more about quitting the company or taking any silly chances with our future together?
Oh, sure, you know I promise. You know that, Winnie. Cross my heart. Bonsoir, ma belle McGill.
Mr. Grady, I am what is known as a long-suffering woman.
Insufferable is the adjective, Mrs. McGill, but leave us not quibble. You were saying...
I am an insufferable woman, Mr. Grady, and I run a respectable rooming house for genteel people.
Well, so far, the script is very familiar. Now, would you mind getting to the point?
The point is that man, your nephew, he's still here.
I told you once before, I have no nephew, Mrs. McGill. Moreover, if there's somebody in that room, it's a gain, not still. He was not there earlier this evening when you told me.
He was, too. You told me yourself he was sleeping in your shoe bag. Though how on earth a body can sleep in a shoe bag, I'm sure I don't know.
Oh, Mrs. McGill.
But that's no concern of mine. What concerns me is that there's an extra lodger under this roof paying no rent.
Pretty clever chap.
I'll thank you to remember, Mr. Grady, that your room is rented on the basis of single occupancy. If anyone shares it with you, your rent will be raised accordingly, and at once. Moreover,
a little later, huh? Maybe 1,000,000 years from now.
Mr. Grady,
May I wish you happy dreams?
You may not. Mr. Grady,
Good night, Mrs. McGill.
Uncle Joe! Uncle Joe, I'm glad to meet you at last.
Who the heck are you?
Me? Why, I'm your nephew, of course, your nephew Norville.
Norville? And your mother? How is she?
Oh, fine, fine. Of course, she had her usual cold this winter. A bit of lunar laryngitis, you know. We tried to talk her into taking the Martian waters, but she is a bit old-fashioned.
Yeah, she always was.
She will go to the moon every season, though nobody who is anybody ever goes there anymore. It's become so second-rate, you know.
Oh, old hat stuff. Yes, that's what I always say.
Oh, very. But, Uncle Joe, I must say I'm surprised to find you in these surroundings.
You are?
Yes, and the time I had trying to locate you wore out 3 stelliums, not to mention blowing out a diatemporic right in the middle of the restoration.
Stelliums? Diatemporic?
Yes, and why are you living here? Where are your mansions?
Mansions?
Why, yes, the one out on Long Island. Or the one out west in, oh, what was the name of that old state? Oh, I remember now. California. Or the one in Bermuda.
Mansions? Oh, I thought you said mansions. Well, you see, I've got them locked up in an old safety deposit box for the moment. I've sort of mislaid the key. I think maybe I'd better go out and try to find it.
Hey, now, wait a minute. There must be some mistake. You are Joe Grady, aren't you?
Well, I always have been, but I could be somebody else if you want me to be.
Joseph T. Grady, born November 26, 1916 in New Haven, Connecticut?
Right as charged, Your Honor. I mean, yeah, that's right.
Educated at public school number 131, 8 years. Woodrow Wilson High School, 4 years. NIT, 4 years.
Check.
Employed by General Engineering Corporation, 1938. Army of the United States, 1940.
Check.
Honorably discharged from the Army. Returned to civilian occupation, 1945.
Check.
Married in Sandusky, Ohio, April 1953.
Check. Wait a minute. What's that about being married? When and where?
In Sandusky, Ohio, April 19th, 1953. Why, is there something wrong? I tried to be very careful.
Oh, no. Everything's ducky, except for a few minor details.
Such as?
That I've never been in Sandusky, Ohio in my life. That I've never been married. And it won't be April 1953 for some time.
Oh, no. What a frightful boner. The transtemporal locator. It must have short-circuited.
Yes, and the Hutsut must have roll-stoned on the Rillerall. Now, let's get down to bare facts there, chum. Who are you and where do you come from?
Who? Well, I'm just who I said I was. Your nephew Norville. And I've come to visit you from the year 2003 A.D.
2003 A.D.? But 2003 A.D., why, that's 52 years from now. Do you mean to tell me that you came from...
Yes, I know it's hard for you to believe, Uncle Joe, but it's the truth. I am your nephew, great-grandnephew to be more accurate, and I did come out of what is to you the future.
The future?
Well, I felt sure you'd understand, being the genius you are.
Genius?
I couldn't very well write your biography without your help, and of course our family owes its present fame and fortune, everything it possesses, to you.
Time travel. Time travel.
That's right, and I'm the first man to accomplish it. Though it seems my experiment has been only a modified success. I had planned to meet you some years from now, about 1965 or so, right at the height of your success. I hoped you'd be proud of me, Uncle Joe.
Oh, but I am, my boy, I am. It's wonderful. But what's this about my genius creating the family, fame, and fortune, mansions, vacations to the moon?
Why, your inventions, of course.
My inventions?
Why, yes, the Hertzian modifier, the Cuda gravitation tube, the hypatomic motor, all those things that made spaceflight possible. Don't tell me you haven't started working on your inventions yet.
Listen, my delirium nephew, you're barking up the wrong trimmers. Not only have I not started working on those polysyllabic monstrosities you mentioned, I haven't got the slightest idea what you're talking about. Why, I wouldn't know a Hertzian modifier if I saw one walking down the street in a pair of kilts. What is it, anyway?
Why, it's merely an instrument that makes possible interplanetary conversation using normal radio equipment. It's very simple, really. Look, let me show you. There you are.
You know, this should work.
Should work, but of course it works. We use it all the time. That's what made our family rich, you know. Royalties.
And I'm supposed to have invented this?
Well, certainly it's a well-known fact that you did. Or will. Or... It's very confusing. I expected to meet you some years from now, after you'd become famous for your inventions. I wanted some data on your life for the biography I'm writing. It's rather awkward to talk to you about things you haven't even done yet.
Norville? How do you know it wasn't meant to be this way?
Well, I don't think I know quite what you mean, Uncle Joe.
In spite of what your history books tell you, I'm no genius. I'm just an ordinary run-of-the-mill mechanical engineer with an average education, a fair IQ, and a lot of ambition.
Oh, I wouldn't say that, Uncle Joe.
Oh, brother, I would, believe me. Left to my own resources, why, I couldn't have invented this modifier. But with this diagram as a clue, and the foreknowledge that it'll work, I can make it. Well, as far as the world is concerned, I'll be its inventor.
But that's impossible. In that case, who really invented the modifier and when? Couldn't have been you because you didn't know anything about it until I described it for you. It couldn't have been anyone else because, well, because in my time, you're known as its inventor.
Don't let it throw you, Norville. It's the problem of the chicken and the egg all over again. But I know one thing. If we work it right, it should happen according to plan.
If we work what right?
Let's get down to business. Can you get me the blueprints of that gadget you sketched?
Yeah, I suppose so. Yes, I know I can.
And the other things you mentioned?
Yes.
Fine. Then you go back to your era, get the blueprints. I'll make working models, have them patented, and the Grady career will be launched.
It might work. Can't see any reason why it shouldn't.
Well, certainly it did work.
Huh?
Otherwise, you wouldn't be who and what you are in your era.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Now, when can you get me those blueprints?
Well, it'll take several hours, but those hours won't enter into your life at all.
Oh, how come?
With my time travel device, I can shuttle back and forth at will between our eras, coming to you at any given date. In fact, if you'd like me to, I can hop forward into my century, collect the blueprints, and come back here yesterday.
No, it's a little confusing as it is now. But can you come back?
Oh, yes. I had a bit of trouble at first with my diatemporics and the stellium superchargers, but I've got them all under control now, I think. Shall I come back tonight?
No, tomorrow. I'm a little tired. It's getting kind of late. I'd like to go at this thing with a fresh mind.
Right. Well, Uncle, this is, what is that quaint old expression of your age? Oh, yes, this is too long.
So long, you mean? Say, I better see if the coast is clear. My landlady has an overactive diatemporic. Come on, Norville. Okay, Norville. She's gone to bed. You can leave now. Norville? Norville, where are you? That's funny.
Okay, what's it all about?
In case your big brown eyes fail to penetrate this disguise, you're gazing upon a stag who's on the eve of bursting his shackles with a rousing yoicks and the equally noisy tally-ho.
This stag didn't by any chance drink his fill last eve.
Oh, such sentiments come rudely from such lovely lips.
Leave my lips out of it for the moment, but if you want a bromo or an aspirin, speak now. You better not let the boss catch you in this condition.
The boss. I smile, I sneer, I smirk.
That you do. But don't forget, where there's smirk, there's fire.
Doris, can you keep a secret?
Why?
What would you say if I told you I plan to leave the company and go out on my own?
Oh, Joe, you're joking.
Joking, like Mr. Bell was with that contraption called the telephone.
Oh, Joe, I know you can make a go of it. I think it's wonderful. But your fiancée, what does she say?
Oh, she'll be delighted, of course. I'm telling her tonight. This means we can get married at once.
Oh.
Well, say, better get going to and get dressed. I don't want to be late for the good news. Doris, remember, Mom's the word. Dear Uncle Joe, having a little trouble finding blueprints. Trans-temporal still acting up. Will contact you as soon as successful. Affectionately, Norville. P.S. In view of your present circumstances, thought you might be able to use this till I get through with desired data. 200, 300, 5,000, 3,000, 4,000, 6,000, 8,000, 10, $12,000. Wow! Ah, good evening, madam.
Everyone is always trying to take advantage of a poor widow woman. You're no exception, Mr. Grady.
You're right. I've treated you most unfairly. There has been somebody sharing my room. The other occupant is my nephew.
Aha. So your conscience finally got the best of you, eh? How long has he been here? When did he come?
2003. About 20 days ago. Exactly 3 weeks.
3 weeks. 3 weeks at $8 a week, that's 24. And 8 in advance, that's 32. Not to mention the extras for water, heat, and light.
I'm sorry I've deceived you. Just to show you my heart's in the right place, here's $100 to balance my account. You may keep the change. Get yourself a new set of uppers.
Why, Mr. Grady, sir. Thank you, sir. I knew you were teasing me all the time, sir. I always did say you were the finest gentleman lodger in this house.
Sir.
Sir. But your nephew, poor dear, he won't be comfortable in there. Your room has only a single bed.
Don't you worry about him. Sometimes he sleeps in the top bureau drawer. Other times he hangs himself up in the clothes closet. And now if you'll stop licking my hand, I must be off. I have a date. Toodaloo.
Why, it's the craziest thing I ever heard of. Quitting the company to become a wildcat inventor.
Wait a minute, baby. Let me explain.
What makes you think you're clever enough to earn a living by your wits? The poor man's Thomas Edison.
I've got some good ideas.
Such as?
Well, such as a gimmick making possible interplanetary conversation using ordinary radio equipment.
Interplanetary conversation? Why, that's marvelous. Simply marvelous.
It's not as ridiculous as you think. We're approaching a new era.
Oh, stop that idiotic gabble, Joseph.
I don't like being called Joseph.
Here, under the circumstances, you can hardly expect me to continue wearing this.
No, I suppose not. But there's one more thing. If you're worrying about my financial future, you can stop right now.
Joseph, where did you get that?
From a friend. It's an advance on some information he expects to get from me later.
What are you talking about? Now, you listen to me.
I've listened to you for the last time, Winifred.
What do you mean?
I mean that I'm celebrating my newfound independence. It comes to every man, you know. No more engineering corporation and no more silly, spoiled, domineering women.
Why, Joseph Grady.
And, brother, what a celebration.
Yes? Yes?
Joe, are you all right?
Joe don't live here. This is Ossing's Chinese Laundry.
Joe.
No speak of the English.
Joe, listen to me. Joe.
Yeah?
Listen, you've got to tell them you didn't do it. That precious fiancée of yours has told everything she knows to the police.
Winifred? What'd she tell you? What have I done?
They're charging you with fraud, embezzlement, forgery, illegal entry, assault and battery, grand and petty larceny.
Wow. Sound like a one-man crime wave. Where are you?
At the office. Listen, Joe, if you did do it, don't come in. Skip town till the heat's off. I'll keep in touch with you.
You sound like you've been reading too many whodunits, but I'll be there in 2 shakes.
Well, Miss Chandler,
He said he'd be right down, sir.
that was a half hour ago, and there's no sign of him.
Joe.
Hi. Put the jewelry away, stupid, and get that big nose out of my face. What did I do and who says so?
Make a clean breast of it, Joseph, and they may be lenient with you.
Clean breast of it. What is this all about?
You see, officer, a hardened desperado, brazen to the finish. You might as well.
What? You too? You mean a guy can be arrested for quitting this joint?
I suppose you're going to pretend you didn't break in here last night and,
Break in? I walked in.
You heard what the night watchman said.
I did.
He busted in here at midnight, roaring drunk, and assaulted and battered him into submission.
I walked in here and signed a letter of resignation.
You went into my private office.
Well, yes.
You sat down at my desk,
That's right.
and you opened my private files.
I opened your upper right-hand drawer and took out a piece of paper. The only thing private I saw in there was a picture of you and some overripe blonde walking on the boardwalk at Atlantic City.
Well, just never mind that. Well, the point is, you admit you had access to the confidential records of this company.
Well, yes, if you put it that way. So what?
Hard as nails. The criminal type, all right.
Joe, don't talk. Let me get you a lawyer.
Quiet, young lady, quiet. Now, you just stay out of this. Now, Grady, since you've gone this far, will you admit to the rest? Will you confess to having stolen company plans and selling them to outside interests?
I've never stolen anything in my life or given out any information.
Oh, no? Well, is it not true that last evening you showed this young lady a considerable sum of money
Well, yes.
and confided to her that it was an advance from a friend for some information you were to supply to him later?
Oh, so that's what's worrying you. Well, I can explain that. My great-grandnephew Norville gave me... he came to me with... Oh, for Pete's sake.
Okay, pal, let's get going. You'll have plenty of time to think this over in the pokey. What with this affair and a counterfeiting rap.
Counterfeiting? Did I do that, too?
You did. And a rotten job it was. Obviously the work of a rank amateur.
What's wrong with the money?
Nothing, Mr. Grady. Nothing at all. Only that it's been signed by two men who've never held public office, and a series designated won't be issued for another 15 years.
Let me see that. Series 1966B. Oh, no.
Well, let's go.
Norville! Norville!
Joe.
Norville. Norville, where are you?
He's in here, miss. Open up, Bailiff.
Doris.
Joe,
You're free to go, Grady.
What's this all about?
I'll explain later. Come on, let's go.
And he's agreed to drop charges?
He hasn't any. He found the blueprints he thought you'd stolen behind the filing cabinet.
That fool Squeers. What about the others?
They've all agreed to withdraw charges, if you make good their losses.
Oh, will I? Oh, Doris, you're...
Listen. I talked to my lawyer. He told me the state has no case against you, unless they can prove that you deliberately manufactured those bills yourself.
Honest?
The mere possession of illegal tender is no proof of intent to defraud.
Oh, Doris, you're terrific. I hardly know what to say.
Well, somebody had to do something.
My nephew, Norville. I had the funniest feeling about that kid. As if I'd seen him someplace before. As if he reminded me of someone. Well, I can't for the life of me remember who.
Joe, you still want to do what you said? I mean about going into business for yourself.
Oh, sure. Whoever that Norville guy was, he certainly gave me some great ideas.
Won't you come home with me? Dad's got a tool shed behind the house. It could be converted into a laboratory in no time at all. He'd be glad to let you use it.
For free? I'm dead broke, you know.
That doesn't matter.
You know, I wouldn't be a bit surprised if that crazy design Norville sketched for me would work.
Whoever he was, he certainly knew your background, all right.
Yeah, but he certainly pulled a boner about me being married in Sandusky. I've never been in Sandusky in my life.
Sandusky, Ohio?
Yeah. Why?
Oh, nothing except that's where my family lives.